So in this video, I'm going to give you guys 22 power saving battery tips. I'm trying to be the battery hero that you need, but not necessarily the battery hero that you deserve. But we all deserve better battery, and that's why I'm making this video. And if you think about it, 22 tips, if each one of these tips saves you just 1%, that's 22% more battery. But trust me, some of these tips are going to save way more than 1%. So make sure you check out all of them. And of course, I have saved the best ones for last. Anyway, here's tip number 1. Go into settings on your device, and at the top of the settings page, we have connections. Go into connections and go to Wi-Fi. Now you're in the Wi-Fi settings, hit the 3 dots in the top right corner and go to advanced. Now in the advanced setting here is where you will find Wi-Fi power saving mode. Turn this on. This will reduce battery usage by analyzing Wi-Fi traffic patterns. This is not on by default. Tip number 2, come back to the settings page, go to connections once again. This time we tap on Bluetooth, and again we hit the 3 dots in the top right corner and we go to advanced. Here we can switch off music share. Now essentially what this does is it uses your phone as a bypass for other phones to connect through to play to speakers. And if that sounds like something you're never ever going to do, then you might as well switch it off, because Bluetooth uses power. And by allowing 2 Bluetooth devices to connect to your phone, that's going to use double power. So definitely switch that one off if you're not going to use it. All right, back into settings and back to connections once again. This time we're going to go to mobile networks. This will only appear if you have a SIM card in the device. Now here is a major battery drain, which is on by default on most phones, and that's voice over LTE. And this is a notorious power drain. You want to switch that off. Tip number 4, come back to the settings page, go back to connections, and then here where we've got mobile hotspot and tethering, you absolutely 100% want to make sure this is switched off, because this is another major battery drain. Definitely switch this off when you're not using it. Tip number 5, come back to the settings page, come back to connections, and where it says more connection settings here, we want to go to this and switch off nearby device scanning. So essentially what your phone will do is constantly scan for other devices around it all of the time, and that uses power. Switch it off. Tip number 6, this is in the settings and sound and vibration section. Click on that and we want to scroll down to where it says vibration intensity. So inside your Samsung device is a vibration motor, and that motor uses power every time you get a notification or a phone call or anything like that. By reducing the amount of vibration, we are reducing the amount of power usage. So turn these down to wherever you feel is necessary. Back to the settings page, and now on to the next section, which is notifications. Now a couple of things I suggest you do is set brief mode, absolutely, but what you should do here is click on included apps, and this will show all of the apps that can send notifications. You need to spend some time on this, go through this list and decide what apps do I not need notifications from. For example, does AR Zone need to notify me about anything? Do I need ASOS to tell me about a new pair of trousers that I should be buying? Not really, especially if I'm trying to save power. So spend some time, go through the list, figure out exactly what you don't need notifications from. I do recommend pretty much all shopping apps. You should turn off notifications from those, because all they want to do is sell you more stuff. But leave the important ones on. So back to settings, back to notifications, and then here where it says brief pop-up settings, click that. Now what happens with your notifications is if you have an always on display, or if you just light up the screen to read the time, it's going to show all of the notifications from all of those apps that we just looked at. We can actually turn that off. So by turning that off, we're not going to see those icons and notifications on the lock screen, and when there's less information being shown on the screen, there's less power being used. So you can switch this off. This will save you a little bit of power. Tip number 9, back into the settings menu. Here we want to go to do not disturb. Now I recommend you think about how you want to set this up. If there's particular times during the day where you're at school or something like that, or uni, or you're at work and you really don't want to be distracted, this is going to help you not be distracted, but it will also help you save power. So set up a do not disturb time, and you can toggle this on and off whenever you want. Okay, next up, into settings, into display. Now This is probably going to be really obvious, and it will depend on the device you're using. On the Galaxy S22 Ultra, it can go up to 120 Hertz and all the way down to 1 Hertz when it comes to refresh rate. Now, going up to 120 Hertz means that the screen is refreshing 120 times per second. That uses twice as much power as 60 Hertz. So you're going to save a lot of power by switching your display to the lower refresh rate if you have it. 60 Hertz is going to make a significant difference when it comes to power usage. Tip number 11, back into the display setting once again. This time we're going to scroll down to screen resolution. Again, this is device dependent. This screen can go up to WQHD+, and it can go as low as HD+. That's 720p. And by doing this, it actually tells you here, basic visuals, lowest battery use. And that's because with less pixels being powered, less power is being consumed by the battery on your device. By doing this, you're going to save a hell of a lot of power. Tip number 13, back into settings, back to display. And here we want to scroll down to where it says screen timeout. Right now you can see I've got it on 10 minutes. That's because I'm filming the video. I normally have it on 30 seconds, but in order to save the most amount of power, set it to 15 seconds. By doing this, every time you stop using your phone for 15 seconds, the screen will turn off, and therefore the screen is not using power. Therefore you are saving power. So set it to 15 seconds and that will help you out. But it also can be quite annoying. So think carefully about that one. Tip number 14, in the settings menu, you scroll down to themes. And this might sound crazy, but trust me, there is logic behind this. Go to the search menu and search for black color palette. Now what we want to do here is find a theme that uses a lot of dark colors. For example, this one is completely free. The background's pretty much black, there's a few stars in the sky. But the logic behind this is if there's less colors on the screen is using less power. Because it's a Super AMOLED display, only the pixels that are illuminated are using power. So less colors, less power, and by using a simple dark theme like this, it can help you save a little bit more power. Tip number 15, in the settings, we scroll down to where it says lock screen. Now here, this is an important one. It's the always on display. So when your phone is off and you tap the display, it will wake up the always on display. There are things being shown on the screen and therefore the phone is using power in order to do that. We can actually stop that from happening by switching off the always on display. That's going to save a minimal bit of power, but it is power nonetheless. Tip number 16, settings menu. Scroll down again, lock screen. Again, in this section where it says notifications, we can turn that off. So whenever our screen is off and it's locked, it's not going to show notification icons or any information about the notifications on the lock screen. Again, if the screen isn't showing any information, it isn't using any power, therefore you're saving power. Once again, tip number 17, settings menu. Scroll down to privacy. In the privacy section, we want to go here to where it says Samsung, and where it says Samsung privacy, send diagnostic data, we want to make sure that's switched off. Essentially what Samsung want from you guys is to see how you're using the phone, how many times are you using the S Pen and the selfie camera and all this kind of stuff, so that they can make better products in the future. By switching this off, you're not sending any data, and when you send less data, you're using less power. So therefore, turning this off is a power saving tip. And here's another one, 18, very similar to the last one. We go to privacy, we scroll down to the Google section this time, and where it says Android personalization service, we can switch this off. Essentially what Google are doing, they're collecting data on you, how you use your device, and the kind of things you like to buy, the kind of things you like to search. And in doing so, they can serve you better with ads and content and all this other kind of stuff, which can be useful. But again, if you're sending data, you're using power. And if what you want to do is save power, you should turn this off. But don't be surprised if you start getting really weird adverts. 19, now we're getting into the more power hungry stuff now. So what we want to do here is scroll down to where it says location. Then within location, we want to go to app permissions. Now, this is all of the apps on your device that have permission to use location services, essentially connecting your phone to a satellite orbiting the Earth. And that, believe it or not, uses power. So here's what we want to do. We want to go through this list and find anything here that we don't necessarily need to be connected to a satellite, like this Lee Pro Lamp UX. why does my living room light bulb need to be connected to a satellite? It really doesn't. So we can go to don't allow. Now, some apps that do require access to satellites, you should definitely leave on. But what you can do is you can turn off precise location, and that might save a little bit of power, but that's actually more for your security's sake. But for stuff like this, maps, you should definitely leave it on. That could be a lifesaver. But other stuff like, I don't know, pay by phone, Boohoo Man, which is a clothes retailer, they don't need to know where I am all the time. So I could switch all of those off. Spend some time, go through this. You'll be surprised at how much power you could save by doing this. Okay, tip number 20, back down to location. This time we're going to tap on location services. And here, these are really important ones, and these are a bit sneaky if you ask me. If you read what it says here, it actually says, let apps use Wi-Fi for more accurate location detection even when Wi-Fi is switched off. So if you toggle off your Wi-Fi is technically still on in the background. By switching this off, we're turning it off completely, and you better believe Wi-Fi uses power, and by doing this, we are eliminating that power usage. So it's definitely important to know about this one in case of emergencies. But this can also be useful if you're walking down the street, you want to know where your nearest KFC is. If you have Wi-Fi scanning on, that might actually help you find it. And here we have Bluetooth scanning. This does essentially what the Wi-Fi scanning does. Even when you turn your Bluetooth off, your Bluetooth is still on without you knowing about it, unless you switch it off properly from this setting, which is buried within the user interface. And Bluetooth is a major power drain, so keep this one in mind because it can save you a lot of power. Okay, tip number 21, stick with me. Trust me, the last few tips are the most powerful and the most energy saving. Check this one out though. Scroll down to advanced settings or advanced features. Within the advanced features menu, we scroll down to the bottom where it says video brightness. So as standard, it's on bright, which means it's using more power because we have a brighter screen, because it's powering a brighter image. We can actually scale this back to normal. By doing so, whenever we watch videos on YouTube, let's say that amazing What Gear video you just saw the other day about the Sony WH-1000 XM5s, you can watch it in lower brightness so you're not killing your battery life. But if you do want bright display, you can actually toggle on and off which apps have access to the bright display. I just feel it's important. You guys should know about this, but if you're stuck on a desert island and you need every ounce of power, you should definitely switch it on to normal. Okay, tip number 22. Thank you for making it this far into the video. You are a true legend. Let's get into this. Scroll all the way down to where it says digital well-being and parental controls. Now, if we scroll down here, you'll see ways to disconnect, and there is a work time preset, a me time preset, and you can add a new one, but there's also a bedtime mode. So by turning this on, basically what your phone will do is stop sending you alerts and all this kind of stuff, and it will turn your screen into a grayscale, thus using less power. And you can set a schedule for this. So let's say you're going on holiday and you know you're going to be out for long days. You can set this to kick in at a specific time each day, and this will help you save power. And of course, you know I've saved some bonus tips for you guys. You probably saw the time on the video and thought, hold on, there's still a few minutes left. That's because at the beginning I underpromised, and now I'm hoping to over deliver because these tips are the best ones in my opinion. So we're going to go back to settings just a few more times, and in the settings menu this time we're going to scroll down to accessibility. Within the accessibility menu, we want to go to visual enhancements, and on this visibility enhancements page, what we can do is we can actually remove the animations. So animations are used a lot on smartphones and you probably don't realize how much they're used, but by switching these off, the phone's GPU doesn't have to work as hard, the display doesn't have to output as many images per second, and those things will save you battery life. So by doing this, you will save power, and that's a bit of a hidden one not many people know about. And it might also make your phone feel a little bit faster. Okay, tip number 24, scroll back to accessibility. Again, we go back to visibility enhancements, and here is a setting called extra dim, which some people have called me in the past. By switching this on, we dim the display globally on the device. So no matter what app we're running, the display will stay extra dim. And a dimmer display means you get better battery power for the day. Tip number 25, if we scroll all the way down to the bottom where it says software update and click on this. Now, by default, the auto download over Wi-Fi is on. Now, let's say you're on holiday and you're trying to get the most out of your battery, and then you connect to a hotspot somewhere, or maybe even pay for some data. And the first thing your phone does when you connect is download a massive gigabyte of update software and start installing it. That is not only going to kill your data that you just paid for, but it's also going to kill your battery as well. So I do recommend you switch this off and actually choose when you want to install these updates, because trust me, they are a huge battery drain. Okay, here's the last two. Of course, in the settings menu, we're going to scroll down, and these are actually probably the biggest battery saving tips I can give you. And it's within the battery and device care menu. So we go into that setting, and in the top right corner, we have the 3 dots. Click on those. Now, where it says automation, open that menu up. Again, this is a little hidden trick that not many people will know about. And in this menu here, we can turn on adaptive power saving. This is a ninja tip, because what this will do is turn the power saving on and off automatically based on your usage pattern. And you might be wondering, what is power saving? Well, that's what tip number 27 is. Check this one out. Settings for the last time. Scroll down to battery and device care. Where it says battery and how much battery you got left, just tap on that. And then here, if we scroll down, you see power saving, and there's a switch. Now, if we tap on that, again, this is kind of hidden away within the menus. But when we turn on power saving, these things toggle on. And we could even toggle on limit apps and home screen as well. But essentially what this will do is throttle the performance of your device on purpose in order to save battery. So it will turn off the always on display, it will limit the CPU usage to 70%. And if you have one of the flagships like this, the S22 Ultra, at 70%, this is still a beast. It will decrease the brightness, and it will turn off 5G, because 5G is a huge battery drain. It will only use 4G and 3G and the other signals if it can find them. We could turn this on, and that will override the other setting I showed you at 26. But with automation on, it will use this intelligently when it feels you're not using the device. So I'm showing you this because this is the manual override. If you want to take the power back into your own hands, you need to know about this. And that is entirely what this video has been about. And you know what? I've got one very last tip for you guys, and it's a good one. Not many people think about this because it's right there in your face, but it's not that obvious. So the brightness slider here is normally on auto or adaptive brightness. So if you're in a bright environment, it'll actually brighten the screen even more so you can still see it. If you're in a dark environment, it will lower the brightness so it's not using that much power. But in order to preserve your battery life, you should actually take manual control of the brightness slider, keep it at a low percentage all the time, and only turn it up in emergencies if you need to see the screen in a really bright location. By doing this, you will save a couple of percent. So like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm trying to be the battery hero that you need, but not necessarily the one you deserve. But I have worked hard on this video, and if you feel I deserve a thumbs up and a subscribe, I would greatly appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys for watching this one. And if you made it to the end, you are a true legend. And if you just subscribed, you're now one of the finest subscribers known to man. And I will see you in the next one, so don't be late.